My last video was all about easy to use loadouts. These are loadouts for people that just don't like controlling recoil, you're not very good at controlling recoil, or you just don't get to play a lot, so you don't have a lot of experience and time to get used to a gun that's more difficult to use but might kill faster. The point of this video is going to be the exact opposite. I'm going to go through basically the fastest killing ARs in Vanguard Royale and talk about which ones I think are viable once you get used to them. I went through and categorized these weapons and checked all of them on TTK charts and things like that. Obviously, if we're looking for a gun that's kind of hard to master, but still could be potentially viable, we're looking for something with great TTKs, but it probably is going to have a lot of recoil. It's going to be harder to learn that recoil. But the big thing we're looking for is best TTKs. So I went through, found what I rank as the best TTKs, and unsurprisingly, the Bren still comes out pretty much on top everywhere. So this is a TTK score. This is kind of my way of accounting for the different drop-off ranges, as well as maybe factoring in a little bit of maybe ADS time. So if you ever have to ADS to shoot your target first, thinking about that a little bit in these numbers as well. It's basically just me kind of rationalizing all the different things that go into how fast a gun kills combined and giving it a score. So obviously higher is better. You can see that on top, the AS44 came out on top, and then the next four were all the Bren. So in most of these cases, the Bren ends up being easier to use than the AS44, but also this is kind of a video trying to get you an edge, and the AS44 has some things going for it. So that's what we're going to focus on in this video mostly, is AS44, but I really did consider everything: the automaton, DP27, different bar loadouts, things like that. And then I defined this ease of mastery thing. This is basically how easy is it to get good with the weapon and start to memorize that recoil and get muscle memory for the recoil, as well as hitting your targets with bullet velocity and how much recoil there is in TTK. So it's kind of combining everything into one number. Obviously higher is better here. That's why these guns with really low recoil, like the bar, the Cooper, the KG, these all have 10 out of 10 for ease of mastery because they're super easy to use. AS44, you can see, got a 4 in my ranking list. And then there's different various builds with different caliber ammunition and different barrels for the Bren, and that kind of changes up how the ease of mastery looks. And if you're looking for something that melts, is really easy to use, then obviously you're looking for something towards the top of the TTK list, which would be the Bren. It also has an ease of mastery score that's really high, so that would be the 6.5 millimeter with the 775 millimeter Scepter barrel. This is going to be kind of that really easy to use. Obviously everyone knows how easy the Bren is to use, but still kills really fast. This is why it's so dominant still. But I'm going to show you guys this AS44. Harder to use, but it has really good bullet velocity, sort of okay recoil. I'll show you my build and the logic behind my build, and then it also has the best TTKs. But before we get into that, I want to go show you guys the actual TTK charts with a few of these top weapons, so you can see kind of how that TTK rank came out. Alright, so this is 300 health, so Vanguard Royale, combination shots with my standard combination shot location percentages. Bullet travel time to target included, but they all have the same bullet velocity with no attachments, so it's not a big deal. One of these does have an attachment on it, so that is factored in. But we've got the AS44 in orange, the Bren in magenta, the Bren with the 6.5 Sakura rounds in cyan, green is the DP27, and then the blue color is the automaton. And you can see right off the bat, the AS44 has the best TTKs up close. And then from about 29 meters out to 45 meters, the Bren takes over. But then the AS44 takes over again out at range. But you need to think about this in terms of most situations. ADS time is pretty important. So especially in probably like 20 to 50 meter range, a lot of the time in fights that you really need to be able to kill the person quickly and win the fight, ADS time is really important. So if you included ADS in this, the AS44 has much faster ADS time than the Bren. So it's going to win everywhere by far if you include ADS time. And then followed by the Bren with default ammunition, we have the cyan line. This is the Bren with the 6.5 Sakura. And that's pretty good everywhere and much easier to control. So that's why I said that's more of like the easy to use but still kills really fast option. The Bren still just really needs a big nerf. It's still way too good. It's really held back by its ADS time and mobility and things like that. But in a long range gun, those are important still, but not like super important. That's why the Bren is so dominant right now. But the AS44 excels in all those areas. So that's why it's kind of a special gun, and really the only thing I think can compete with the Bren in a real sense. After that, we've got the DP27 and the green line here. It's pretty accurate. It has pretty long damage drop off. Same with the automaton. They're very similar weapons. The darker blue line and the green line are pretty similar for TTKs all the way out. The Bren, or the DP27, shoots a little bit slower than the Automaton, but the Automaton has very, very consistent recoil. It has a lot of recoil, but it's consistent, so it's not super hard to control. DP27 is a little bit random. They're both good guns, but overall, it really just comes down to the AS44 and the Bren. So I've spent a ton of time trying to make this AS44 work because, like I said, it's really the only thing that can compete with the Bren, and it's always had insane numbers, and it also has Gung Ho, so I've spent a bunch of time trying to make it work with, sniper support builds and things like that, since you can use Gung Ho and get 0 sprint to fire time. It's really hard to balance the ADS time with good TTKs and manageable recoil. So I went through and I did tons of research. I'm not going to show all the screenshots and everything in this. I'm going to show you guys the build and then go, show you in game a little bit. But basically, this gun has a lot of initial recoil, and then after that, it slows down a little bit. So after like 7 or 8 shots, the recoil really slows down. So you might think, well, I need to stack initial firing recoil attachments. So that's what I thought, and I went and tested that. And most of the initial firing attachments, like the rear grip and the stock, they don't really do very much. Like it doesn't actually affect it very much in the long run. For some reason, they just have, it looks like maybe each one had like a 10% reduction in initial firing recoil, just not a huge amount. So not really worth even worrying about that. Basically, the idea behind this build was I don't care about those first few shots. If I need those first few shots, the person's probably close to me, and then I can still hit them even if there's a lot of recoil. So every attachment on this is either overall recoil or focused on sustained firing recoil. So after those first few shots, the recoil gets a lot better. You do want to use the 30 Russian short 60 round mag, not the small caliber mag, just because 50 rounds on this thing, it shoots so fast, that's really not going to be very good. And it hurts your TTKs by quite a bit. So you just want to stick with this 60 round mag. And you pretty much just need to hold the trigger down if someone's more than 50, 60 meters out. After those first 5-6 shots, it's going to be a lot easier to control. So I'm going to jump in a game and show this to you. I'll go through the attachments real quick, I guess. So MX silencer, we pick MX for this build over the Mercury because we don't care so much about the ADS time because there's really nothing else in the game that competes with this gun in terms of ADS plus TTK. So even if we slow this thing's ADS down a little bit, you're still going to ADS way faster than its only real competition, and that's the Bren. So we're going to maintain that damage range, and we want as much vertical recoil and horizontal recoil control as we can get. So that's why we go with the MX silencer. Barrel, this is the only barrel that really makes any sense. I tested the precision. This is highly accurate and controllable, but the 615mm barrel just easily has the best recoil. 3 to 6x, that's subjective. If you're on console, again, you probably either want to use a red dot sight or one of those 1.5 optics. But if you're on high FOV with affected, then you're going to want to use either the 3 to 6x or the 2.5x. Anything over that 3x threshold is going to be way too hard to control with this because it just has too much recoil. We're using this stock again for the accuracy during sustained fire and the mounted, crouched, and prone recoil. This makes it so you have very little recoil when you're either prone or mounted, and it does even help when you're crouched a little bit, but not very much. So if there's ever someone really far, this is very much like a Ram 7, actually. It equates very much to the old Modern Warfare days where the Ram 7 was really hard to use, but it was the best gun if you mastered it, and that's why I like this AS44 so much. Ram 7 also had very little recoil when mounted, just like this. So there's just a lot of parallels between the two guns, and I like that. But anyway, yeah, if there's someone far, just mount or go prone, and you can really, really help the recoil with this, as well as the sustained fire. And then hand stop. Hand stop's just great because it has similar recoil properties to the Carver, but it doesn't hurt your ADS time. So there's really no reason to use the Carver over the hand stop in general right now, I don't think, because we don't care about hip fire on an AR. Ammunition, I went over that. Obviously lengthened bullets because that increases bullet velocity. Long range gun. And then polymer grip, again, we're stacking those sustained fire recoil attachments because that's kind of just the advantage we're going to try to get with this thing, is that we're going to get those first few shots off before Bren even gets ADS'd. So after those first few shots, all of a sudden we have very little recoil and we can just beam with those, those last 20 shots or so. Perk, it's either gung ho or steady. Steady just gives you the ADS firing move speed. You could use gung ho if you want to fire while sprinting. It's always a good option because there's just some cases where someone's going to show up in front of you that you weren't expecting. Sleight of hand, obviously, also a very good choice. Steady is just the one I go with because it seems the most applicable for long range engagements. And then perk 2, there's really only 2 viable options here: fully loaded or on hand. On hand makes you you throw a grenade or something, you pull your gun back out faster afterwards. So that's a good one, but I pretty much just stick with fully loaded because I like to have ammo in all situations. All right, just dropping into some plunder here to show you guys what this AS44 build actually looks like in action. So you can see right off the bat, it has decent ADS times. They're not great, but they're pretty good. That's going to help you win a lot of fights up close because this has one of the best TTKs in the game up close anyway. So the good ADS on top of the good TTKs is going to help you win fights. So I'm just going to shoot, I guess, up into the sky so you guys can see what this recoil looks like. I'm not going to control the recoil at all. This is going to be the natural recoil pattern. You're going to see got a lot of recoil for the first few shots, and then it'll calm down a bunch. A lot of recoil for the first few shots, and then it calms down a bunch. So in practice, if you're on mouse and key, that means that you're going to pull down for the first few shots, and then after that, there's very little. So if there's somebody like at that rock, so that's 75 meters, I just pull down for the first few shots here, and then after that, it's really minimal recoil. It's very bouncy, but it's very usable out to about 100 meters without mounting. And then if you actually mount on something, you could potentially, I mean, this is me not even controlling the recoil, but it has a lot of recoil in the first few, and then after that, almost none. But same idea there. Out to 150 meters, you can very easily control those first few, and then after that, there's almost no recoil. So overall, it's definitely a usable gun, but it's difficult, which was the whole point of this video, is that if you can learn this recoil and learn how to time that first few shot recoil control, and then after that, there's very little recoil. If you can learn how to master that, you're going to be able to dominate people that are using the Bren, just because an ADS faster than them, you have better mobility, you have a quicker reload. It's a better gun than the Bren in every way except recoil. So if you can learn that recoil pattern, which isn't even that hard because it's really just the first few shots, this is going to be a pretty disgustingly good gun. All right, guys, give this gun a try, but don't give up on it instantly. Give it like, 2 or 3 games, 4 games, something like that. Just give it some play time to get used to that recoil and learn how to use it. And remember, if you're ever at long ranges, just mount with it or go prone. Either one of those things dramatically helps the recoil and will let you be able to beam someone out to 100, 150 meters pretty easily. But that's all I wanted to cover in this video. I hope you guys found it interesting. I'm probably going to try to start doing like sort of series like this every month where when things come out and they change things, I'll make videos about easy to use loadouts, mastery loadouts like this one, where if you can master it, you'll be the best. And then maybe some, middle ground loadouts. I didn't go over the Bren in this because everyone knows about the Bren. Everyone's been using the Bren forever. And I just thought this was more interesting. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I appreciate you as always, and I'll see you in the next one.